Well, good evening, everybody. This is John Unell, aka John I Fly, from Schuylkill Haven, Pennsylvania. I just wanted to share some things on my heart. No notes tonight. Um, Seems like now that works out better for me. And plus the fact I don't have a lot of time on my phone. I thought I would, but I have about 12 minutes left here. So anyway, I just wanted to talk about uh, the right wing Republicans and who's really behind all of this. You've heard me on John Bridwell's show, live show already. I've mentioned about Christian nationalism. And if you remember, anybody that remembers back in the 80s, of course we had the moral majority. I guess that was correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was in the 70s. Somebody had said it might have been in the 60s. I would think probably the late 60s, maybe when it was started, or early 70s with Jerry Falwell. But I know it's a touchy subject. A lot of people don't like to talk about religion and politics. They say that can get you in trouble. But in light of what's happening today, I think it's important that we do talk about it. And we have to understand, I'm not going to go into all details of it because I would not consider myself an expert, but I do know that years ago, back in the late 70s and early 80s, I went to a fundamentalist Christian Pentecostal church. So, I don't know, I look at it as brainwashing. And it doesn't take much, especially if you have a skilled pastor or whatever, leader, that knows how to phrase their words and hold people's attention. It's easy to grab their attention and they want to come back and listen to more, and they start to believe a lot of this stuff. Some of these churches are very literalist, and they'll take the Bible and believe everything literally, and you can't do that. But anyway, back in the early 80s, I remember especially, we had the moral majority, and then you had well-known Christian leaders that became popular back in that time. You had Jim and Tammy Faye Baker and Jimmy Swaggart. And then you had some others. They were like teacher preachers, Josh McDowell and others. And they were popular back then. And unbeknownst to us, looking back at it now, we can realize this was the start of what today is known as Christian nationalism. Now, Christian nationalists are people, and I've heard this back then too, that our nation was founded on Christian principles. I mean, they just feel that, well, the Pilgrims, when they came over and stuff, they were evangelical Christians. They preached, this land is dedicated to God and all that. And like I said, I'm not an expert on it. I don't know all the ins and outs on it, but a lot of that stuff is not true. And if you want to know who the real Native Americans are, it was the Indians. When the Pilgrims came over, eventually, of course, it was the beginning of doom for the Indians. These colonists came over and they had diseases that the Indians were never exposed to, and a lot of them got sick and died. But they also pushed their religion on them as well. Now, I understand they wanted to get away from the Church of England and all that, but I'm pretty sure they didn't sit there and say, we want to make this nation a Christian nation. Beliefs back then were quite different, I believe, from what they are now. There were a lot of people called deists out there that oh well, they know there's a God or they believe there's a God, but he might not be so close. He might have like created the universe and kind of left us to take care of everything else. But anyway, this movement of Christian nationalism is behind the Republican Party today in 2022. And it's been building up for the past few years. And one that comes to mind is Pat Robertson. Now, my understanding is he finally retired from the network, Christian Broadcasting Network, or CBN. But they're very big proponents of the United States was a Christian nation, originally founded to be a Christian nation, and all that nonsense. And if you look in the Constitution, it doesn't mention Jesus Christ or anything else, you know. We were actually a Christian nation, I should say a secular nation, not a Christian nation. And the belief is, of course, that we're free to practice our religion and believe in whatever we want to believe. But you can't sit there and tell the government, okay, or the government tell us, this is the religion that we want to make sure everybody follows. You have people out there today like Marjorie Taylor Greene and Bobart. And Miss Bobart is preaching on a regular basis in some church, I believe it's in Colorado. Either Oklahoma or Colorado. I think it's Colorado. And every week she's preaching 2 times or more a week in the church. And she's mixing this Christian nationalism with the gospel and trying to bring it into politics and government. And then, of course, there is a separation of church and state. If you read that amendment clearly, it's clear. But somehow they twist it around, especially Marjorie Taylor Greene. Oh, I like the idea of Christian nationalism. That's what our nation should be. Of course, what do we do with all the other religions, you know? If they're going to sit there, and now the Supreme Court, I believe, did a ruling a few weeks ago on praying on school property, like the one coach, football coach, I believe he was praying with the students, and there was a big controversy raised about that. The Supreme Court ruled that now that excuse me, that he can do that, which I have a problem with it. You know, you're in a public school funded by taxpayer dollars, and they're pushing religion. If they're going to do that, well, let's make sure we have the Hindus have their turn at it, and Muslims, and the people of the Jewish faith. Let's all do that, you know. Let's all have them. You know, like, where do you draw the line? But, of course, the Christian nationalists say, well, it's a Christian religion. That's what our government came from. Don't believe it. It's a lie, people. And they're pushing it on the Republican Party, and the Republican Party, the extreme right, they want us to live by a code of standards that they themselves can't even live by. And now they had the Roe versus Wade, Roe versus Wade was done away with. And, well, now women, I guess they don't have a right to their own bodies, what they can do. And there's bound to be a lot of lawsuits. I know there's some filed already, but this nonsense has got to stop, people. This is and I tell you why, we all need to get out and vote. Everybody. And I'm not ashamed to say this, we need to vote Democrat. Vote Democrat. The Republican Party does not care for the average person. All they're wrapped up in is weird conspiracy theories, and they want to push religion and cram that down our throat, the Christian religion. So, people have a right to believe what they want to believe, but you can't sit there and force people to believe the way you want. And you certainly can't tell them what they can do in the privacy of their bedroom. That's another thing Supreme Court wants to do, strip away our privacy. Who the hell do they think they are? You know? I think that the Supreme Court should be widened now. Nothing in the Constitution that says that it's limited to 9 members. And I think that we need, I don't know if it would be the president or what would be, or who would be responsible for that, or the Congress. But something's got to be done, because the main thing we have to vote Democrat. Because if the Republicans get in, people, guaranteed, you're going to start losing a lot of your rights. There's even talk that in 5 years we could lose Social Security and Medicaid, or Medicare. And that would be devastating. We can't have that. I think they wanted to privatize Social Security. No way. No way. That can't happen. But if we're not careful and we get lackadaisical, the Republicans can pull a fast one. They're already screwing around with gerrymandering and all that stuff to make it harder for people to vote or have their votes count. So listen, everybody. Get out there and vote this November. And if you have primaries left, go and vote in the primaries, whatever ones are left. Listen, I'm running out of time here, but anyway, thanks for listening. You can find me on YouTube as John I Fly at yahoo.com. Facebook, I go by my real name, John R. Unell. That's Unell. And I would love to hear from you. Feel free to comment in the comment section. If you haven't subscribed yet, subscribe. I would love to have you as one of the subscribers to my channel. I'm going to try to get on a little more than I have been. I have other things in my life I've had to take care of, and there's upcoming events medically that I have to get things done. And hopefully I can get back on here very soon. It's Monday night, 9:45 in the evening, and I'm about ready to just relax for the evening. So listen, take care. Thanks for listening. And I look forward to doing another video for you soon. Keep in touch and keep listening to my tapes. And don't forget, get out and vote this November. Our rights depend on it. Okay, good night, everybody.